Hi, you're back on the C Morning Show. Now, let's talk about mental health because mental health stigma is still prevalent here in Indonesia. While according to Indonesian Health Ministry's Basic Health Research Department, or Riskesdas, indicated that over 19 million individuals aged 15 and above suffer from mental and emotional disorders. And not just that, more than 12 million individuals aged 15 and above also suffer from depression.
Now, mental health stigma can cause many problems, one of which is reducing recovery rate. As such, it is important to combat mental health stigma by normalizing discussions about the topic.
And thankfully, a non-profit organization called Stigma aims to achieve just that, as it was founded to break mental health stigma here in Indonesia through preventive programs and improving mental health literacy among the public. They also aim to create a generation of youth who can play an active role in changing public perception on mental health.
That's right, Shanna. So without further ado, let us welcome Stigma co-founder Asaelia Aleeza, who will talk more about this topic. Good morning, Asaelia.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us this AM. It's nice to see you after 8-9 years.
Oh, so
Asaelia
we
used to go to high school together. Asaelia's a year my junior, but it's so refreshing to see how far you've come. Obviously, since high school, you're doing something that's empowering and inspiring to so many people, especially on a topic that I feel like needs to be heard more right here in Indonesia. So with that being said, I'm just a little curious now. First of all, why do you think most people are still somewhat uncomfortable with bringing this topic up about mental health? I know we talked briefly, you mentioned that you started this because you were living in the UK and you saw the difference of just the flexibility of freedom to be able to express one's mental health. So please tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I think that firstly how we started this organization is because I studied psychology. So I've come to learn and understand about mental health, how it impacts people's daily lives, daily functioning, because I studied that. And so I personally wanted to become a counselor and to come back home to Indonesia. And me and my co-founder, she also studied psychology and she also had that vision. And we talked about it. Oh, actually not a lot of people want to go or seek help back home. And why is that? So after doing research and after just conversing about it, we realized that it is because of the stigma. It is because of the negative responses that people give when someone wants to reach out and find psychologists. And so because of that, if we're talking about perception, then the means to that is through providing education. So we also like to create events. So we started with this one event. It's called Let's Talk Mental Health, where we invite experts like psychologists, counselors, psychiatrists, and also mental health survivors to share about the topic and also their experiences with their journey. And we see that there's a demand for it actually. From then on, a lot of the people in the community in Stigma seek out for help, and they gave us very positive responses. So from there, we continued to what we were doing.
Okay, so you started back in 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, so we also want to know about this organization, Stigma, furthermore, and what is your goal from this establishment, and how do you see yourself in the future about this Stigma that you're doing?
Yeah, so we're a nonprofit organization with the name itself is to change the negative perception of mental health in Indonesia. And so with that, again, we believe that it is through education. So we create programs that provide mental health education or anything that's related to mental health to school, to companies, universities. And yeah, through those programs, we hope that in the future people can have better literacy in mental health. and also whenever they have mental health issues, or even before they have mental health issues, they're willing to seek help.
Yeah.
They're willing to go to therapy and so on.
That's really good. Now, your organization aims to increase mental health literacy and create the generation of youth that actively plays a role in changing the mental health stigma right here in Indonesia. Now, if we backtrack, Celia, back to 2018 when you first started this, it wasn't as
Trendy.
it wasn't as open as it is today. So how did you do it? What were the first steps that you took to make sure that, you know, you were doing this the right way? You were sort of encouraging people that, hey, it is okay to express how you're feeling. If you're not okay, it's okay to say you're not okay. How did you begin with that?
Yeah, I think me and my co-founder just took a step of courage.
Yep.
Like, we didn't know how the responses of people would be. We just saw how perhaps our friends who studied abroad, who's also more open, we first had a conversation with them,
Right.
ask for their opinions if we do this, and most of the people just say, you know, just go for it and try.
Yeah.
And because of that positive responses, then we realized that I think a lot of people actually need this.
Yeah.
And as through the coming years, there was more and more community and youth-led community and organizations.
Yeah,
who
because they
start-
feel like, oh, there is someone to speak up now. We
Yeah.
feel safe that
Yeah.
we're not the only ones.
Yeah.
Right, that's right. And as for me, I'm speaking from my personal experience. I'm now in therapy for, I think, about 3 months, and it helps a lot. It helps me to regulate my emotions, and it helps me to know that I did certain things because of my past traumas, and it felt good to know that, what you did today, what you did in the past was actually because of so many things that is forming throughout your childhood when you were brought up, and it's a revelation for me, and I think it's for everyone. You know, just try it, just go to therapy and try it. And I also want to know more about the programs that your organization has been done so far. So tell me more about the programs. What have you done, and what sort of things that you experience in helping these people?
Yeah. So we've done several programs, especially for offline, 2018 to 2021. We've done 4 of our main programs, which the first one is Let's Talk Mental Health. Is the one that I shared in the beginning, where it's more of a forum, a discussion, where we invite experts, mental health survivors to talk about a certain topic that we bring up at that year. We also have Let's Learn. That's more of a smaller audience, where there's more of a practical. So, for example, guided journaling or mindfulness, meditation. And then there's also Utarakan Saja podcast. So it's a podcast where we talk about anything related to mental health. So like money management, eating healthily, just anything that is.
I need that money management.
Don't we all?
Yeah, and then the other one is Stigma, which is one of my favorite programs. It's a word play actually between Seni and Enigma. Seni, art, and then Enigma, because mental health is unseen and it is subjective.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for people to explain and express themselves.
Right.
So we provided a platform for people to share their piece of art as their way of expressing themselves.
I love that.
And so we exhibit them in one of our offline exhibition and also online platforms. And for right now, in 2022, we established 3 main programs, which is the first one is Generasi Tangguh, which is a program for kids, 10 to 12-year-olds, aiming to build resilient generations. And then the second one is Wellness at Work, which is mental health education for employees in the workplace. And the third one is Bersatu, which is a training program for young people who want to advocate for mental health.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We should join that one.
That's really good. I love how you sort of go into these areas where I feel like in an environment where people would need it the most, right? And I think looking back, as you've mentioned, the ones of 10 to 12-year-olds, right? Kids who sort of gone through the pandemic, they didn't have the same, I wouldn't say childhood, I guess. What do you call that age group? Yeah, but like at school, you know, they were homeschooled technically because everything was offline. And so I think being able to sort of adapt around it obviously takes a toll on their mental health. Just because they're young does not mean that they don't have it going on for them, right? So I think it's amazing that you're doing something to teach them how to be resilient and to teach them young so that they know how to sort of approach their teenage years. Now, with that being said, you know, I feel like the culture here in Indonesia, excuse me, people still tend to either ignore or belittle the idea of mental health. Like they just sort of shrug it off or sweep it under the rug, or when you try to express to a friend that you're going through something, they're like, it's just a feeling, it'll pass, right? But sometimes it can be a lot more serious than that.
True.
But also sometimes people abuse the idea of mental health by using it as an excuse or as a reason, when in reality they don't actually suffer from mental health issues, but it's just an easy way out because we're getting to a point where it's progressive enough for people to take it seriously and therefore use that as an excuse. Now, what do you think your take is on that? There's obviously pros and cons to having this more open, being able to express it more, but then on the other side, you can see that sometimes people take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think it goes back to education.
Yeah.
I think we need also a society that is able to critically also evaluate, you know, anything that comes, that the information that they receive, right? But I guess that comes with the process of educating itself. So I guess it's good that with providing education, people are becoming more aware. But then there's also the cons of it. So people sometimes abuse it. As I mentioned previously to Karina as well, you know, some of my friends use, you know, go to counseling, you know, and then say that they have anxiety or so on to skip exam, you know? And so that is, the cons of it. And I guess you just have to educate more about why and how it may impact as well. It's sort of undermining people, other people who are experiencing mental health issues. So we have to also build empathy,
Of course.
in the society for other people. I think that's also something that we have our task as well.
I think to educate people how to empathize is also very important, to make them know how others are feeling.
But at least we talk about it now, right? And we got our eyes on, you know, we're talking about mental health and addressing this issue. I think that's also important. And speaking from also my experience again, I know that there are so many things that we experience throughout our childhood that would, you know, affect our actions as an adult. Now, I also want to know, your organization offers programs that can help students and also parents, you know, their relationships with their children. Now, I want to know also, why is it important to improve, you know, mental health literacy from a young age?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the statistics say that the onset of mental illness, especially anxiety, depression, and also self-harm, it starts by the age of 13.
13?
Yeah, 13. Wow. So it's very prevalent in age 13 to 17-year-olds. So, and 10 to 12-year-olds are the time when they start to become aware of themselves and they start to realize they're encountering problems with their friends, with their families, and sometimes if they're not equipped with the coping resources, so it can, we never know what their coping resources might be. It might go to the self-harm behaviors. And so with educating from early on, and they're receptive towards information as well at that time. So we want to start early to prevent onset of mental illness, and as we know, mental illness may also lead to suicide. So it's a preventive program for lowering suicide rates as well.
Now, going back to 2014, 2015, when we graduated high school, this wasn't something that was talked about very much. And, you know, I feel like now teenager students have the privilege to be able to share something like this, right? And dating back to our high school, British school, Jakarta, where Asaelia and I went, you mentioned that they actually have a group now.
Yes.
Where they get together. And can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
So I know that they now have their own well-being team.
Okay.
So there's a group of teachers who are organizing, you know, well-being activities. They have well-being week, and they talk about anything related to mental health, basically. And yeah, so and my sister is actually still studying there as well. So and she told me like how frequent they bring up about well-being. Yeah.
That's so warming to know that they actually have that in school now, and I think more should be implemented in school. And I think, you know, by the time we have kids and we put them in school, it's nice to know that they will have that in school. Now, so you went to college or university rather in the UK. And what inspired you to start Stigma was actually the difference of the openness and the progression of mental health in both the UK and Indonesia. Was there a specific event or something that sort of clicked to you that was like, okay, I need to start this back home in my home country of Indonesia?
Yeah, I think from the well-being services that they provide, it was for free, and they would share on a monthly basis in emails, and so when I had my own mental health issues because of, you know, stress from uni work, it was very much accessible. And interestingly, the room, the psychological well-being rooms is shown in like study centers, so like people can just go there anytime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think anytime they need. And so I also heard a lot of my friends experiencing similar things, and because it was so accessible for us, we didn't have to struggle as much, I guess, if we didn't have that service. So that's what sparked.
Yeah, the access, right?
Yeah,
the access to that, to the help, to the support. Now, what are your hopes and future plans for Stigma, and what do you want you know, the society to really know about mental health?
Yeah, so for my hope in the future is that people are willing and courageous to speak up about their mental health issue more. To inspire other people that, you know, it is a normal thing to experience mental health issues. There are reasons as to why you're feeling that way. There are ways why you think that way. But at the same time, we want to be a resilient generation because we don't want to use that, you know, our mental health issues as an excuse to not do, you know, what we're supposed to do. Exactly, our calling and so on. So there are ways for us to cope with it. There are ways for us to get up again and to be productive in our days, I guess. So and hopefully for Stigma ourselves, we are able to reach more audience. We're able to reach more school and communities, and for them to have mental health education as a compulsory subject. I think in school, I think that's my dream.
I agree.
Okay, that's admirable. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Asaelia.
For having me.
8 years. It's so nice to see you. You know, do so much and something that could really benefit a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so thank you for all that you've done. We can't wait to see what Stigma will do more in the future.
Thank you.
And yeah, amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you.
All right, now that's the first talk show of the day, but of course we still have more when we return with more updates from around the globe, so stay with us on the C Morning Show.